Hi there, this is Praying Medic. It is Wednesday, December 13th. This is my news update. Today's spotlight is the question, did Adam Schiff become ensnared in an intelligence community sting? Sit tight, I'll have all the news for you. How is everyone doing? Got any good news? I have tons of good news. I always have good news. That is why people tune in. I don't have no fake news, and I don't usually have bad news, because God is on the throne and Trump is in the White House, which usually means there is some good news. If you know how to look for it, you know where to look. So we're going to be laying down some, I think it's some good news. Yeah. And look, you look at the news headlines, you look at what's going on. If you look at the wrong things, if you're focused on the wrong things, it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to lose hope. Brendan Dilley made a really good point last week. He said, a lot of you are sort of like people who have been playing on the Cleveland Browns for way too long, and you don't believe, you don't understand, you don't know the culture of winning. All you know is losing, losing, losing. You've been losing for so long that you're afraid to even hope for anything good to happen. You just expect everything's going to be bad. You expect that the criminals are never going to be prosecuted. You expect that the news is always going to continue being bad, that the deep state's going to get worse. And there are a lot of people in our community who are kind of raised in that culture where government is just going to become more corrupt and it's never going to get fixed. It's easy not to have hope if you've been raised in that culture. We are creating a new culture, a new normal. And I'm here to help you guys adjust to the water. The water is warmer, it's a lot nicer. We've got some palm trees. We've got some nice fresh coffee. It says, think outside the box. And there is hope. All right, so with the Alabama election, first thing up. Judge Roy Moore lost unexpectedly. Yes, there are rumors and rumblings that there was some election rigging going on. I did have a dream last night about an election and some weird things that were happening in this election. So, would it surprise me if there was some election rigging going on? No. The president has a team, a task force that is going out looking at election rigging. If the voting machines were tampered with in the election yesterday, they'll find out. They'll know it, and it'll be exposed, investigated, and they'll find out what's going on. So wouldn't worry too much about that. It's possible that there was election machine tampering. Yes, I have read the threads from 4chan about that. We'll see how it goes. I'm not too stressed about that. Good news. The House and Senate agreed on a tax reform bill that will go to votes in both chambers next week. So that's good. There aren't a whole lot of details. There's going to be a 21% corporate tax rate. The top rate for personal income tax is going to come down from 39% to 37%. We don't know how many brackets there's going to be. It looks like they're going to keep intact most of the changes that they had in each bill. But the one thing that Denise and I wanted to know is how many tax brackets are there going to be. We don't know. There isn't any information on that. We'll get that information as it comes out. But I think that's good news. More good news that most of the media outlets are not picking up on. I posted this tweet last night on my Twitter timeline. John Roberts from Fox News tweeted out, he has received information from White House legal counsel Ty Cobb, and Ty Cobb has confirmed that Robert Mueller has spoken to everyone in the White House that he needs to speak to. His investigation as far as the White House is done, and he expects to be wrapping up in the next few weeks. So, as I've been telling you, and as we've been some of us have been thinking, that the Mueller investigation is coming to a close. It's not going to go on into next year. And you can go to John Roberts' timeline and find that tweet if you want. It's not being reported on, oddly enough, but it does look like Mueller's investigation is coming to a close. So we'll see how that goes. The other, I think, good news to consider, a senior UN diplomat just got back from North Korea, a trip to North Korea, and has said that Kim Jong-un and his administration are willing to negotiate peace talks with the United States. Rex Tillerson has said that the U.S. is willing to negotiate with no preconditions. And that is a softening of our previous position. Previously, we had said if there's going to be any peace talks, we're going to have preconditions, one of which is Kim Jong-un has to get rid of his nuclear program. That has been taken off the table. Tillerson is now ready to negotiate peace with no preconditions. And he said this yesterday at a meeting. So, good news. How cool would it be if we could negotiate peace talks with North Korea without firing a shot, without anyone getting blown up? I think that would be incredibly cool. So, let's pray. Let's pray that we're going to get some peace with North Korea and nobody gets shot, nobody gets hurt. Yeah, Rex Tillerson has said, I'll read it to you. In Washington, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson went further, saying the U.S. was ready to talk with Pyongyang without preconditions, essentially dropping a key U.S. demand that North Korea must first accept that any negotiations would have to be about giving up its nuclear weapons program. Tillerson's remarks, made at the Atlantic Council in Washington on December 12th, Tuesday, yesterday, were seen as a softening of the U.S. position. Significantly, he said, it's not realistic to say that we're only going to talk to you if you come to the table ready to give up your program. They have so much invested in it, and the president is very realistic about that as well. So Tillerson and Trump are getting realistic about dropping preconditions in order to have peace talks with North Korea. And like I said, I think that's good news. That's something we should all be praying into, right? One little bit of news I want to throw out there is net neutrality. President Trump's new FCC chair, Ajit Pai, is scrapping the Obama administration's regulatory overreach concerning net neutrality. A lot of people are freaking out about this. They think we're going to lose net neutrality. Well, we are not going to lose net neutrality. We had a fair system, open market competition system before the regulators came in and decided they wanted to monkey around with licensing and network providers, internet providers. So what Trump's team is doing is undoing the regulations that Obama's regulatory people put in place 2 years ago. He's just going to undo it and give the control of it back to how it was. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that open market competition is the best way to achieve net neutrality. So don't get too freaked out and concerned and sucked into this mindset that the government that net neutrality is going away if they undo these regulations. That is not the case. This net neutrality thing is kind of a psyops in a way. They got people frightened into thinking that we would lose net neutrality if the government didn't regulate it. And I don't think that's the case. And I think deregulation is a good idea. So nothing to worry about. Moving on to, so a lot of you may have seen that there was a House Judiciary Committee meeting this morning with Rod Rosenstein. I personally think that Rosenstein is playing this exactly the way he needs to. If you are angry, if you are upset, if you're disappointed because Rosenstein is not telling all the dirty little secrets that are going on about the investigations inside the DOJ and the FBI, and you're upset because he's not talking, look, this is theater. This is for your enjoyment, or it is for your torture, depending on how you want to look at it. But they can't talk about ongoing investigations, all right? And unfortunately, the senators and the representatives who get involved in these committee meetings, they know that you can't talk about all these investigations. You can't talk about the details in an open setting. It's a little aggravating when they even ask these questions, knowing that he is not going to give answers. He can't. He legally is bound to secrecy. And the DOJ does not comment on ongoing investigations. And it's actually a little unusual for the DOJ to talk this much about an ongoing Inspector General investigation, which is an internal affairs investigation. We have learned more about that than we ever would have 10 years ago. Yes, it's aggravating, but realize this. Number one, Mueller's investigation is coming to an end. Number two, the Office of Inspector General has probably finished their investigation. They're in the finalizing stages of writing up the paperwork, writing the reports, and that'll be submitted to DOJ, and the recommendations will be made. So we're going to be finding out about all of this, I think, very soon. And one of the things to consider, if you are paying attention to the text messages between Peter Strzok and his mistress, Paige, that was all swept up in the Office of Inspector General investigation. So the OIG is doing an investigation into politicization of the department. They are looking at whether or not the FBI and the DOJ have been weaponized and used by a political party. That's one of the many things they're investigating. Those texts were swept up in the investigation. That's why they gave them to the members of the House committee, so that they would have some understanding of what is being looked into. Okay? So that's why those 10,000 texts are out there, because that's part of, as Trey Gowdy said, that's part of the investigation. It's evidence. And we're going to learn a whole lot more about that in the coming weeks. So you just need to hang in there. Don't be too frustrated. Realize we're going to get answers pretty soon. So I wouldn't get too stressed out about that. Did I see that McCain has been caught leaking to the media? I don't know about that. I do suspect that Adam Schiff has been leaking to the media, and that is going to be the rest of this broadcast. I'm going to talk about leaks to the media. One of the things that did come out is that John McCain, we now know when he received the Steele dossier from Christopher Steele. There was an intermediary, and that transfer happened in August of last year. That's on my timeline. You can look into that. The guy who did the transfer, he did an exclusive interview with Fox, some high-up level producer or executive, and they have an exclusive story on the transfer. And there's some pretty good information in that story about the background of how the Steele dossier was put together and where it went and what's in it. So if you're interested, that's a good story to check out. But it does suggest that McCain, there's always been the suggestion that McCain was involved in bringing that information to the FBI. Now we have somebody who can definitively say, I'm the one who gave it to McCain. In other news, with Andrew McCabe, Deputy Director of the FBI, McCabe ditched his scheduled meeting with the House Intelligence Committee yesterday. And it was kind of blown off and written off as a scheduling conflict. But if you saw the way that they went after Rosenstein today about this investigation, you can imagine what it's going to be like for Andrew McCabe, who has now kind of been implicated and outed as leading this ring of people in the FBI against Trump. When he goes in front of the Intelligence Committee, it is not going to be pretty. He is going before a pack of wolves, and they're going to tear him apart. So I can imagine why he doesn't want to go into that meeting, because it is going to be very uncomfortable. He's going to have to answer some very difficult questions. Now, Devin Nunes has said if McCabe blows off our meeting next week, he's going to be subpoenaed. I will send investigators over to the FBI, and they will come and forcibly take the information that we've been asking for since last winter, I think. Debbie Nunez has gotten to the end of his rope, and he is not having any more of this. He is done with stalling and obstruction, and he is going to try to get this out. McCabe is scheduled to meet in the House Intel Committee next Tuesday. And if he doesn't show up, there's going to be hell to pay. Nunez has said either he'll be held in contempt or they will subpoena the information, or both. So I'm going to move along to my spotlight, which is a thread that was done by Conservative Treehouse writer Sundance, who goes by The Last Refuge on Twitter. And this is a thread that asks the question, did Adam Schiff get caught in an elaborate counterintelligence sting? So Adam Schiff is ranking minority member on the House Intelligence Committee. And there is now some speculation that Schiff has been leaking information out of the House Intelligence Committee to the press. And did he get caught in a sting by doing that leaking? All right. So Sundance has written an article and has a thread on Twitter about this. And I'm going to walk you through it. By now, everyone is likely aware of the fake news story run by CNN on Friday surrounding an email received by Donald Trump Jr. The email was part of an investigative evidence shared with the House Intelligence Committee. It was later leaked from within that committee to CNN, which initiated this false reporting. So CNN gets this information about this letter that was sent from WikiLeaks to Don Jr. about the release of email information. And CNN ran a story on it saying the letter was dated on September 4th, 2016, and that it proved that WikiLeaks and Don Jr. were in collusion because that dump of information from the DNC emails was not made public until the 13th. So CNN thought they had a scoop. Oh my gosh, we have proof that Trump Jr. was colluding with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, and they had all this stuff going on, and they gave him 9 days advance notice that they were going to dump a bunch of information out there. Well, come to find out, they had the wrong date. When the email was produced, the date on it was not September 4th, it was September 14th, the day after WikiLeaks made that information available. And here's the interesting thing. CNN reported that 2 independent sources originally leaked to them the contents of what they had seen on the email in question. But CNN never saw the email until later in the day. So they got a report from people inside the House Intelligence Committee that the date on the email was the 4th. They saw the email later in the day and the date was the 14th. And now they're like, oh gosh, we screwed up. We reported the wrong date. We accused Don Jr. of being in collusion with WikiLeaks. And now we have to backpedal. So the question that Sundance is asking is, how can 2 independent sources both look at an email and both come away from it reading the wrong date? How is that possible? Now, one theory that was actually put forth by Scott Adams is that people are actually suffering mass delusion, and that because they want to nail Trump and they know that Trump is guilty of something and they know that there's collusion on the Trump team, that people are actually hallucinating and they're putting dates on things that line up with what they want to think. So Scott Adams says these people are actually hallucinating and they're actually seeing wrong information when they read something because they want their confirmation bias is forcing them to read things wrong. That's an interesting theory. I don't buy it. I don't think that's at all is what's happening. Okay? Because there is more than just these 2 sources who gave wrong information on that particular email. It has been Conservative Treehouse's contention for several weeks that a counterintelligence sting operation has been going on inside the intelligence community. False trails of information seeded by white hat investigators intended to be captured by black hat leakers and delivered to their allies in the media. The stories are fake, but the leaks are real. What Sundance is suggesting is that the intelligence community is deliberately creating falsified information, putting essentially a way to track it into the intelligence community and then watching where it goes. And so I'll just continue. All investigative documents relating to the witness are provided to the congressional committees prior to interviews with the witnesses. Sundance is going to walk us through how this process works. So when the House or the Senate Intelligence Committees are going to interview a witness, they're given the documents, supporting documents in advance to review. If there are no physical documents, or if the information is classified, each member of the committee has an opportunity to go into a SCIF, which is a controlled environment where you view intelligence information. There are no copies allowed outside of that. You can't take your phone in. It's all kind of secure. And they can view the evidence. So the Don Jr. WikiLeaks email could have been a part of a sting operation. The date was intentionally seeded as being incorrect. The resulting story would be fake, but the leak from the intelligence community to the press was real, and it's for a purpose. And we're going to talk about that purpose. Each nugget of disinformation exposes a specific leaker. Each trail used in the sharing of the disinformation exposes the media outlet. The white hat plants the fake news seed and then watches to see where it goes, when it leaves, who and how it is disseminated. Sundance has links to a video of the CNN. In this example, CNN, we believe it's most likely House Intelligence Committee Minority Chairman Adam Schiff, who is the recipient of the disinformation and has now exposed himself as a leaker to the elite, previously undisclosed investigative unit specifically assembling evidence of corruption and leaking at the highest levels of government. What the heck are you talking about, Sundance? Some special investigative unit previously undisclosed we don't know about? Some hidden group of white hat investigators? What are you talking about? I'm going to tell you what he's talking about. So, the scale and strength of the CNN pushback, and specifically the tone in their refusal to even consider discussing who their sources were, strongly supports the idea that there is an intelligence thing going on and there's no way they're going to out Adam Schiff or whoever their source is. Keep in mind, Representative Adam Schiff is a member of the Gang of Eight. Now, the Gang of Eight, this is kind of a big deal. The Gang of Eight holds oversight of all of the intelligence communities. So they oversee NSA, CIA, FBI, Director of National Intelligence, and every other intelligence unit and operation. So the Gang of Eight is minority and majority leaders of the House and Senate and the ranking members on both the House and Senate Intelligence Committee. Paul Ryan, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, Devin Nunes, Schiff, Burr, and Mark Warner. That's the Gang of Eight. The conservative treehouse theory on this endeavor includes an almost complete years-long Department of Justice Office of Inspector General investigation. So here's the OIG report coming back in that no one has been paying attention to until recently. And don't forget the FBI investigation into the Awan brothers and how they've hacked into House Intelligence Community servers, and they were employed, have been, still are, by some members in the House. Okay, that is an ongoing FBI investigation, in case you didn't know. All right. That said, it would not be the IG carrying out the counterintelligence operation to identify leakers. Okay. No official in the intelligence community is empowered to place fake news in front of Congress. Setting traps for Congress is bad form. And for matters of trust, it's bad politics. Okay. That reality, amid those who follow DC politics, is the main reason why people dismiss this theory that they're hunting black hats. Because it would be considered immoral or unethical to plant wrong information in and give it to congressmen, expecting them to leak it, and tracing the trail of where it's going and trying to trap people who are leaking. However, a lot of people have not been paying attention to the fact that months ago, when Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates told us that is exactly what they're going to do. Now, I'm going to play for you a video clip, and you can listen to the audio.
We're here today to talk about the dramatic growth in the number of unauthorized disclosures of classified national security information in the past several months. This includes leaks to both the media and, in some cases, even unauthorized disclosures to our foreign adversaries. Referrals for investigations of classified leaks to the Department of Justice from our intelligence agencies have exploded. In the first 6 months of this administration, the Department of Justice has already received nearly as many criminal referrals involving unauthorized disclosures of classified information as we received in the previous 3 years combined. We are taking a stand. This culture of leaking must stop. Furthering this goal today, we are here to announce some steps being taken and underway by the National Insider Threat Task Force to ensure the government's first priority to protect this country and her citizens is not undermined by the very people who've been entrusted to protect it. While the Department of Justice does not discuss ongoing investigations or confirm specific matters, it is important for the American people and those who might be thinking about leaking classified or sensitive information to know that criminals who would illegally use their access to our most sensitive information to endanger our national security are in fact being investigated and will be prosecuted. So today, I have this message for our friends in the intelligence community. The Department of Justice is open for business, and I have this warning for would-be leakers: don't do it. For the past several months, we've already made changes and are seriously ramping up our efforts. First, I directed my fine deputy, Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, whose district in Maryland encompasses NSA headquarters and who has personally led investigations of this kind, and the investigator FBI Director Christopher Wray, to oversee all classified leak investigations, actively monitor the progress of each and every case. Secondly, I directed the National Security Division of the Department of Justice and our U.S. attorneys to prioritize cases involving unauthorized disclosures. The department will not hesitate to bring lawful and appropriate criminal charges against those who would abuse the public trust. Third, as I have said, we tripled the number of active leak investigations. In response, the FBI has increased resources devoted to leak cases and created a new counterintelligence unit to manage these cases. Simultaneously, this department is reviewing policies that impact leak investigations. And I've listened to our career investigators, FBI agents and others, and our prosecutors about how to most successfully investigate and prosecute these matters. At their suggestion, one of the things we are doing is reviewing policies for affecting media subpoenas. We respect the important role that the press plays and will give them respect, but it is not unlimited. They cannot place lives at risk with impunity. We must balance the press's role with protecting our national security and the lives of those who serve in the intelligence community, the armed forces, and all law-abiding Americans. Finally, here is what I want to tell every American today. This nation must end this culture of leaks. We will investigate and seek to bring criminals to justice. We will not allow rogue anonymous sources with security clearances to sell out our country.
So the FBI has created a new counterintelligence unit specifically designed to mitigate, identify, and prosecute people leaking in the intelligence community. And if you consider the years-long Inspector General investigation, which is coming to a conclusion, and there have been a lot of high-level mistakes in the press. Sundance here refers to the Brian Ross ABC News scandal where the news was reported incorrectly and he was suspended. Also links to the Bloomberg article about Mueller sending a subpoena to Deutsche Bank to get records on Trump a couple of weeks ago. What was that all about? How does Bloomberg get false information that is coming out of Mueller's investigation? And Deutsche Bank says, we didn't get any request from Mueller to give them documents on Trump. What are you talking about? We don't know what you're talking about. That didn't happen. So how did Bloomberg get fake news about what Mueller's investigation is doing? There's also a link, of course, to the Don Jr. How does CNN get the wrong information about the Don Jr. thing inside the House Intelligence Committee? How are these news outlets being set up and given this bad information if there isn't somebody inside the intelligence community they have this elaborate scheme where they are putting out bad information with the intent of exposing the leakers and outing the press that is cooperating with them? And one of the interesting things, just to think about, Don Trump Jr. is in front of the Intelligence Committee today. He's testifying again. I don't know why he keeps doing this. The last time he went in, whatever was being said in that committee, he was in there for 8 hours testifying. That information inside that so-called secure setting was being leaked as fast as he was saying it. It was going out to ABC and CNN. And his attorneys wrote a letter demanding an investigation into the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. And I'm going to read a little bit of that letter for you. In advance of Mr. Trump's interview, he and his counsel were assured that the committee, in accordance with its rules of procedure, the interview would be kept strictly confidential and not discussed publicly unless and until the full committee voted to release the transcript. Consistent with these assurances, our access to the Capitol was controlled and the interview was held in a secure area. Our electronic devices were housed separately until the interview was concluded around 6 p.m. Notwithstanding these precautions, at approximately 1 p.m., while the interview was still in progress, members of the committee and/or their staff began selectively leaking the information provided during the interview to various news outlets, most notably CNN. And they link to tweets from CNN's Manu Raju on December 6th, 1 p.m., tweet from CNN's April Ryan on December 6th at 3:57 p.m., and an article that Manu Raju filed later on in the afternoon. All of this information was being tweeted and leaked out while the hearing was still in process. So somebody inside was taking the information and leaking it to the press. Now, Adam Schiff has denied he said, I have not leaked any non-public information to the press. So if Schiff didn't leak it, who did? Maybe one of his staffers. We don't know. But it is interesting that it seems to me like there is a concerted effort on both sides. On one side, to leak information as fast as they can, and on the other side, to trap and prosecute these leakers. So this is the drama that's going on right now. This is what I'm focusing on. And by the way, last night I had a dream. That's why I'm telling you about this. I had a dream last night where there was a elected leader, a politician, who was involved in disseminating a document. And in the dream, the document looked real, but I knew it was fake. I knew that there was something falsified in that document, and the document was being shopped around to different places in the community. So I think God is very interested in exposing these leakers and the liars and the criminals And I think it's going to be in the next probably month or two when all these, when Mueller's investigation is done, when the OIG report is done, we're going to have a lot better understanding of how this has all come about, who the players are, what the agenda was. As we found out this morning with Jim Jordan's testimony in front of the Intelligence Committee, the text messages that are coming out between Peter Strzok and his girlfriend about Trump, we are finding out about those text messages not to find out how the bias may have affected his ability to objectively be on Mueller's team. But what Jim Jordan was going further is, look, this guy is a high-level ranking official in the FBI. And there was a meeting with Andrew McCabe, with agents in the FBI, and they came up with a plan to make sure Trump was not elected president. That's the big story. And everything that we're hearing in these Intelligence Committee meetings with the text messages and the emails, it all points to a very elaborate scheme by the FBI and the DOJ to make sure Trump didn't get elected. And I would just say, stay tuned, because it is only going to get more interesting as these people are exposed. Alrighty, well, that is my update for today. You guys are amazing. Thank you for the hearts. If you want more information, you can go to freedomnewsproject.com. It's my website. I have all the latest breaking news there. I have videos, all the latest video from Sean Hannity. I have Rush Limbaugh's podcast is there. There is Mark Levin's podcast. We have Fox Business News. The President Trump's Twitter timeline is on there. All the latest videos from the White House. I have created playlists of all the latest videos and podcasts of conservative news and commentary. If you're interested in keeping up on this stuff, you can go to freedomnewsproject.com and check it out. I try to keep things updated as often as I can. And if you feel like supporting us financially, we would love it. If not, that's cool. Just keep tuning in. We'll keep providing up-to-date news and information for you. The website is freedomnewsproject.com. It is a video-based conservative news and opinion website. It's all video. And I have channels for Rush Limbaugh, for Sean Hannity, for Tucker Carlson, for Judge Jeanine. Most of the prominent conservatives, Michael Savage is on there. We have Laura Ingraham, the Ingraham Angle. All of her latest videos are all on there. And you can just go there and watch their videos, listen to their podcasts if you want to, for free. So, all right, that is it. Love you guys. You are incredibly cool and amazing. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next broadcast.